There's an old saying, be careful what you wish for. By understandably seeking to punish the Conservatives for effective open borders with illegal immigration through the roof, the British public have voted for more. Reform UK voters, for example, 4 million of them on Thursday, were angry with the Tories' failure to stop the boats, which, lest we forget, is an economic, national security and humanitarian disaster. But in return for their protest vote, they've elected a Prime Minister in Keir Starmer who immediately scrapped the Rwanda plan before even choosing new wallpaper for his office in number 10. Starmer scrapped Rwanda in spite of the fact that the Irish government said months ago that it was already working. Such was its deterrent effect. Starmer was even going to get rid of, and I quote, the Rwanda plan, even if it works. Make it make sense. With this deterrent now removed, illegal immigration over the next 5 years will go from a temporary crisis to a permanent one. Don't take my word for it. As my top pundit tonight, Theo Usherwood, pointed out on Twitter this week, Kevin Saunders, former chief immigration officer for the border force covering Calais and Dunkirk, is not happy with the new direction. Speaking to Times Radio, he said, the new Prime Minister is being very negative about Rwanda. Well, that's fine. He's bound to be. But we don't have anything from him about how they're going to stop the boats. He goes on, it's going to be open season. And I reckon that we're looking at between 50 and 60,000 people coming across the channel this year. There's been a lot of unease, he says, in the camps in northern France about the Rwanda scheme. They were very, very worried, he says, and we saw people fleeing to the Republic of Ireland because they didn't want to be included in the Rwanda plan. And finally, he says, now we're seeing that the Kurds over in northern France have come up with a new nickname for Keir, which I think means the friendly one. That's right, the friendly one, because they all believe he's going to be very good for illegal immigration. Now, let's hope they are wrong. If Keir Starmer stops the boats, then I will put my hand up. But I won't hold my breath. Now, if you want a more welcoming approach to those making that perilous journey, no problem. But just decide from which departmental budget you're going to pay the £3 billion annually that it's costing to keep these people accommodated in hotels, a figure which is bound to rise. And decide from which departmental budget you're going to fund the extra welfare payments, long-term housing, school places and NHS resources. Oh, and sit down and have a nice cup of tea with residents of small towns and cities impacted by migrant hotels and ask them how they feel about it. Now, Labour has said it will use the savings from Rwanda to pay for a new border security command, staffed with hundreds of additional special investigators, intelligence agents and cross-border police officers. Labour want to track down and smash the shady criminal gangs who are located abroad. That's right, folks, they are located abroad, but we're going to find them and we're going to shut them down. Good luck with that. We can't even smash the criminal gangs here. This new Border Security Command sounds like something out of Star Wars, and it's pie in the sky. It is, in fact, a rebadged, better resourced version of the plan that we currently have, one which, given the huge numbers already crossing, is clearly not working. The EU have a similar approach, and things are even worse on the continent. What was Albert Einstein's definition of madness? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different outcome? Well, look forward to 5 years of that. Our new Prime Minister has said in the past that all laws around controlling immigration have a racist undercurrent. That's right, having borders and policing them is racist, according to the man now in charge of our borders. Voters who gave the Tories a punishment beating on Thursday are in for a shock. As the renowned academic and clergyman Douglas Horton once said, whilst seeking revenge, dig 2 graves, one for your enemy and one for yourself. Scrapping Rwanda, the Prime Minister's first significant mistake. Your reaction, gbnews.com/your say. Let's get the views of tonight's top pundits. Political journalist and commentator Theo Usherwood, Labour Party activist Susie Stride, and campaigner and author Chris Wilde. Chris,
yes.
A terrible mistake, and he's only been in post for about a day.
I don't think it's a terrible mistake, Mark, at all, no, and I've been very vocal on this throughout. You know, the humanitarian in me does not want to see people sent to Rwanda. The focus should be on tighter border control, and obviously, as well as, you know, asylum, the process for asylum seekers, you know, and going through their application, it's, you know, for me, it's just been a mess from day one, but sending people to Rwanda is not going to work. It doesn't scare no one off. We just need a tighter system which supports people. And let's not forget, these are human beings as well. And the fact that we're just talking about them like they're second-class citizens doesn't sit well with me at all. That everyone deserves a chance to have a good life, and it's up to us to do that. And it's up to the Labour Party.
Chris, I agree with you. That's why we have a legal process by which people can apply for asylum without entering the country on a rubber dinghy in the Channel, which is a humanitarian, economic and national security disaster. We don't know who these people are.
Spending millions of pounds sending them to Rwanda, what's that going to...
Well, the idea, Chris, it's a disincentive, and the Irish government have already said that it's working, and it hasn't started yet.
Well, I don't think it is working, and it's not even started. It's just wasted a lot of money which could go into bigger and better things and support these people more. They're human beings.
Theo Usherwood, Keir Starmer's first major mistake. I mean, this is a guy who said he'll scrap Rwanda even if it works. Surely a Prime Minister shouldn't scrap policies that work.
I'll just take you to what Tony Blair said today in an article. He said that the migration crisis was a problem for Keir Starmer, and that Keir Starmer had to be able to deal with it, given when you look at the finer numbers within that election result. And it was a resounding win for Labour. Let's not take it away from them. But there is some fragility there, particularly around reform eating into and securing quite a large vote share and coming second in Labour seats. So I think, you know, looking ahead to 5 years and the next election, Keir Starmer, if there's one crisis that you have to pick out that Keir Starmer has to solve, I think it's the migration crisis, above all others. The problem,
definitely. I thought it was a great article by Tony Blair, and it made me wish, Theo, that he was Prime Minister tonight, not Keir Starmer. I mean, Tony Blair has helped Keir Starmer work out what a woman is as well. I mean, the guy talks a lot of sense.
Politically, yeah. Politically, this is the one that Tony Blair has identified, and I think it's worth just noting that that's what he said. This is the one that Keir Starmer has to sort out. The question is, how do you do that? And I think what the part of the problem that Keir Starmer has got is that within his own party and on the left of British politics, it's not a settled question when you say to people, do you need to stop the small boats? I think there's a section of those on the left, and indeed within Keir Starmer's own party, that believes actually that that you cannot stop the boats, that actually we have to be able to take those who are making, and it's worth mentioning, it is a perilous crossing in these dinghies. It's been run by gangs, you know, criminal gangs. It is a horrific experience, and it's very, very dangerous. But there is a view, I think, when you look at it from the left, that says actually you can't stop these boats, and nor should we stop these boats. And I think Keir Starmer has a problem with that, because he's going to need to make the argument that these boats have to be stopped for the very reasons I've set out, given how dangerous it is. And also, I think there are communities that are under significant strain when you take into account we're paying £3 billion a year for hotels and so forth. But the problem that Keir Starmer has now is that he's taken away, and he was always going to have to do this given what had happened before the election, one tool. And when you look at what he's replaced it with in terms of this new border command, it's actually a very small, slightly esoteric change that he's brought in, where he's going to give these new investigators and this new border command counter-terrorism powers. Is that going to make a real difference in tracking down the gangs, smashing the gangs and stopping the boats? It's very difficult to see initially how that's going to happen. And if Keir Starmer doesn't make progress on this, Mark, I think he's got a real problem electorally and politically heading into the last couple of years of this Parliament.
Well, I think that's a fair point. Susie Stride, Theo Usherwood there, hinting at a cultural problem within the Labour Party, which is they don't want to stop the boats.
I think, look, Keir Starmer is a new Prime Minister of this country, and I think he understands that this is an issue that the British public care about. And I think, actually, we have made it clear. I think we've spoken a lot about this, and I think, Yvette Cooper on day one, saying, actually, we're looking for the right person that's going to head this up. We are going to take this seriously. I think it is a complex issue. I volunteer with Iranian refugees. These are people that have come over here because they return to their country. They're going to be hanged, put in prison, tortured, and so it's that thing of we've always been a kind country, and actually there is that place of offering refuge to people that need refuge, but
Absolutely.
also there are people that are abusing the system, and that's not okay. And also, ultimately, we've got these criminal gangs that need to be tackled. Now, the fact is illegal immigration has gone up under the Tories. They have fouled on illegal immigration. They have fouled the country on it. Let's get this right. And I think, look, let's see what Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper are going to do. But if I'm honest with you, I actually think they're going to do the right thing on this. I think they're going to, I don't think they're just paying lip service to it. I think they're going to do the right thing on it.
OK, Susie, look, I'm going to give the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt. As I said in my take at 10, if he stops the boats, I'll put my hand up. What do you think in the last year of this Labour government, 5 years from now, going into the next election, 2029, what do you think the numbers will be crossing the channel? Are we looking at a few hundred a year?
I mean, let's be honest. There's no way that I'm going to be drawn into throwing out numbers on these things because I have no idea. What I do think, look, what we do know is numbers have gone up. So the Rwanda policy hasn't worked, and actually tackling the criminal gangs, 1,000 more border security people, dealing with the actual application processes and making sure that those people are being processed. And actually, if they're here and they shouldn't be here, being sent back. All of that. I mean, that hasn't been happening. People have been in hotels. It's costing an arm and a leg. And actually, these things need to be processed. And if I'm honest with you, I've got first-hand experience of some of this, and it's a joke.
OK, fair enough. Well, I think we can all agree it's not working, and more power to the Prime Minister to tackle this major issue, which is a huge problem for the country. Like I said, it is a humanitarian, economic and an infrastructural and national security crisis.